The Sales Perch, a weekly podcast discussing sales styles, techniques, and strategies. Today's episode is called The Comparison Close, how to use society's desire to be liked to make a sale. Hey everybody, Joe Bird, welcome to the Sales Perch. So happy to have you here. Today we're going to talk about the comparison close. Basically, it's how to use the societal pressures or whatever you want to call it, people's psychology of wanting to fit in and be liked, and how to use that to make a sale. Before we dive into that, as always, we're going to talk about last week's episode, how we may have used that out in the real world. So to remind you, last week we talked about the yes momentum close, how to get people in the habit of saying yes so that when you ask for their close, they're used to saying yes and they're less likely to say no. So we talked a lot about how it can be used in person. We talked about on a listing appointment. I used it this way during a listing appointment this week, where I walked in, I had my backpack that has my laptop and has my marketing material and everything in it. And as soon as I walked in, I said, "Hey, do you mind if I put my bag here?" Of course, she said, "Yes." Great. Awesome. So that works really well. It's just a way to do it. But I think where it's also super effective is setting the appointment. So it doesn't have to be an in-person yes momentum close. It can be on the phone. It can be in a conversation. So when you're, prospecting a client, you get let's use real estate again. You get and I did this. So somebody called in and we were talking about, hey, this is probably like a 6 months to a year away. It has to be the right house. And I said, okay, well, it sounds like you want to move, right? Yeah, we do, but hesitations. Okay. Well, it sounds like this is what I hear you want in your next house. Is that right? Well, yeah, that is. Okay. Well, let me ask this. To me, it makes sense. I'll come over. We'll talk about your house. If there's any projects that you may want to do to it to get it ready for the market, the more time you have, the cheaper and easier those things are, the more you can do yourself. So why don't I come over? Does that sound fair? And, we'll talk about the house. We'll talk about current market value, and we'll start putting together a game plan because you have multiple moving pieces here between selling and buying. Does that sound fair? Yeah, it does. Okay, cool. Well, I'm going to, would Tuesday at 3 work for you? Yes, it does. Great. Okay, I'll see you there Tuesday at 3, whatever that was. So it doesn't have to be the in-person close when you're asking for the yeses in order to get the yes at the end of the day. It's getting them in the mood from the very beginning on saying yes, and they will continue to say yes throughout the entire process. Super effective. Love it. Now let's jump into today's topic, the comparison close. So what is the comparison close? Frankly, I don't love the name of this close. In my mind, when I hear comparison close, I want to think you're giving them A and B, and you're sort of weighing it against the competition you might have. And that's really not what it is. So what a comparison close is if you've ever seen the toothpaste ads and it says 9 out of 10 dentists recommend this toothpaste, right? That's what the comparison close is. You're basically making people think, hey, if other smart, influential people like this, I should probably like it too, because I want to fit in. I want to be a part of that crowd. I don't want to be left in the dust. I don't want to be the stupid one that didn't agree with that. So it's using that comparison that people make to other people all the time, conscious, subconscious, mostly subconscious, in my opinion. It's using that to the advantage. So if you're selling a house, as an example, and you're hitting, let's say, some kind of hurdle in the sales process where they would say, hey, we really want to try to maybe get this commission down a little bit, totally understand. And when I sold your neighbor's house that hired me, who was referred to me by their best friend, who was referred to me by their mom, when I sold their house, we agreed that this was a fair commission, and they were so happy with the results. So does that make sense? I think this is pretty fair, right? Yeah. You're saying, I did it for this price before. Okay, cool. You've done it for cheaper for other people too, right? But you're then relating it to people that they know and that they respect, that are wiser or smarter than, or they project to be, or these people think that those people are, and they don't want to be the ones that are like not doing it, right? So, it could also, if you're selling a car as an example, and somebody's like, well, I really think I wanted some more, horsepower, or I really wanted the V8 and this, this turbo 6. It's not quite the V8. It doesn't quite have that rumble, but I kind of really wanted that V8. I think I'm going to wait until I find one. Instead of just saying, well, hey, here are the stats. The V6 with the twin turbo is actually more fuel efficient. It's actually faster. It's more responsive. Yes, it's not quite as loud, but you can do exhaust kits. That's the logical close right there, right? Like, because it makes sense. The twin turbo V6 is probably a better buy than the V8. But if somebody's so set on that and you push that back, they're going to feel like you're trying to get over on them or like you're just trying to make the sale. But if you can then relate that to, let's say, that, you can maybe find an article where, a race car driver or somebody talked about that or somebody influential, or whatever it may be, and say, well, it worked for so-and-so. I think it works for you too, right? Oh, well, yeah, that makes sense. You can also use the complementing close as part of this comparison close if you're selling something that's really complex. There's a lot of moving parts. There's a lot of pieces. It's a little bit confusing. You would say something along the lines of, well, you seem like you really have a pretty broad mind and you're able to sort of get to conclusions pretty quickly. I'm really impressed by that, actually. So I think even though this seems like it's complex, once you get into it, it's going to be like a piece of cake for you. I think you're way smarter than this thing. You built them up. Made them feel good, made them feel confident, and now there's a challenge for them to conquer. That's a pretty good comparison close, and you're comparing it to themselves at that point. So that's the comparison close, super effective. I'm excited to use it this week. And, if you're selling, it's really, like I said earlier, it's really common in advertising as a concept for advertising on the ads for the toothpaste or the deodorant, 9 out of 10 dermatologists recommend Carpe for underarm sweat, whatever it may be. By the way, I started using it. I think it's pretty cool. Love it. Was it because of the dermatologist? Probably a partial. I didn't make that decision cognizantly about that, but it certainly didn't hurt. It gave them, validation and credit. So we see it used a lot in advertising. I don't think you see it used as much in face-to-face one-on-one sales, but I think we should. I think it's really, really, really effective. Has to be done subtle. You can't make them feel like you're building them up or, whatever. It can't feel like you're trying to convince them of something. But when you slow down, you use it strategically in a psychological way to make them not want to be left out, to make them want to be part of the crowd, to be part of society, to be one of the smart ones, to be one of the leaders, to be one of the top people in society. It can get you to your close. Thank you so much for listening. The Sales Perch. Have a wonderful day. Take care. Thank you for listening to The Sales Perch by Joe Bird. Having sold over 1,000 houses personally in the last 12 years, in addition to running one of the top real estate teams in the state of Maryland, I am looking forward to imparting my knowledge and wisdom, as well as sitting in the trenches with you to learn alongside you.